I used to think I was in pretty good shape. I ran regularly. I played tennis every week. I could move fast, change direction quickly, and stay active for hours without thinking much about it. So when I decided to try yoga, I wasn't expecting any surprises. I thought it would be challenging, maybe a little uncomfortable, but nothing my body couldn't handle. Then something unexpected happened. A basic yoga pose started making my legs shake. My balance collapsed. My breathing felt harder to control than it had any right to be. Nothing about the pose looked difficult. No sprinting, no jumping, no explosive movement. Just standing still. But the longer I held the position, the harder it became. My legs trembled, my hips felt tight, my core struggled to stay engaged. 30 seconds felt longer than an entire tennis rally. I couldn't explain it. Because yoga wasn't exposing one problem. It was exposing several at the same time. My balance wasn't as good as I thought. My core wasn't as strong as I assumed. And my body felt far tighter than I ever realized. That raised a question I couldn't stop thinking about. If I was already active, what exactly had all my other activities been hiding? Running felt natural. Tennis felt effortless. I could move fast, change direction quickly, and stay active for hours without thinking much about it. So when I started looking for answers, my first assumption was simple. Maybe I just wasn't flexible enough. The deeper I looked, the less that explanation made sense. Because yoga wasn't exposing one missing ability, it was exposing an entirely different set of abilities. And that distinction changed everything. There's a fundamental principle in movement science that explains why. The body adapts specifically to the demands it experiences repeatedly, not just strength or endurance, but movement patterns, breathing patterns, speeds, positions, and ranges of motion. Motor learning research has consistently shown that the nervous system becomes more efficient at movements it practices often, and less efficient at movements it rarely experiences. The body becomes very good at what it repeats. Running had trained my body for endurance, repetitive forward movement, and efficient use of elastic energy. Tennis had trained it for acceleration, quick reactions, explosive rotation, and rapid changes of direction. Those were real, valuable adaptations. But yoga was asking for something completely different. It demanded static stability, active mobility, breathing control, slow strength, and the ability to stay calm inside unfamiliar positions. Suddenly, the contradiction made sense. I wasn't struggling because I was out of shape. I was struggling because I had entered a movement environment my body had never truly trained for. And that led to the most important realization of all. Being athletic is not the same as being adaptable in every movement environment. The question was never whether my body was strong. The question was whether it had learned the specific skills that yoga was asking for. If the body adapts to what it practices repeatedly, then another question naturally follows. Why hadn't I noticed any of this before? After all, I had been moving for years, running, playing tennis, exercising regularly. If these limitations were really there, why had they stayed hidden for so long? Part of the answer comes down to speed. Most athletic movements happen quickly, and the body is constantly moving from one position to the next. Momentum helps, elastic energy helps. Quick adjustments happen before you're even aware that something needs compensating for. A tennis player doesn't stop and hold a lunge for 30 seconds. A runner doesn't pause mid-stride and ask the body to stabilize there. The movement keeps going. And sometimes that's exactly what allows certain limitations to stay hidden. Yoga changes that completely. It removes momentum, removes urgency, and removes the ability to escape a position quickly. Suddenly, the body has nowhere to hide. A position either feels stable or it doesn't. Movement either feels controlled or it doesn't. And that's when the shaking began. Not just once, not just occasionally. Almost every time I entered certain positions, my legs shook, my arms shook. Small muscles I had never paid attention to before started trembling. First, it felt like weakness. The more I learned, the more that explanation fell apart. Research on balance and stabilization shows that slower movements often place higher demands on motor control because the body can no longer rely on momentum to maintain position. Every small adjustment becomes visible. Every stabilization demand becomes visible. The shaking wasn't random. It was the body rapidly searching for stability it hadn't fully learned yet. That's not a sign of damage or injury. It's a sign that the body is working hard to organize control inside a movement it doesn't fully understand yet. That realization changed everything. Maybe my body wasn't failing. Maybe it was simply being asked to do something it had never truly learned how to do. And that opened the door to an even deeper question. If shaking wasn't necessarily weakness, then what was all that tightness trying to protect me from? If shaking wasn't necessarily weakness, then another question started bothering me. Why did my body feel so tight? At first, the answer seemed obvious. My muscles must have been too short, too stiff, too inflexible. But the more I explored the science, the more complicated the picture became. Modern mobility research increasingly suggests that tightness is not always just a muscle length problem. The nervous system plays a major role in determining how much movement the body is willing to allow. That changes the way you look at the experience. Because sometimes the body doesn't increase tension because it can't move farther. Sometimes it increases tension because it isn't confident moving farther. When a position feels unfamiliar, unstable, or outside the body's sense of control, protective tension can increase. Body creates protection before anything bad even happens. That idea explains something I had noticed many times. Some positions felt easier after a proper warm-up. Some felt easier when I relaxed my breathing. And sometimes a movement that felt impossible at the start of a session felt surprisingly accessible 20 minutes later. The muscles hadn't suddenly changed length, but something had changed. The position felt safer, and the body felt more willing to allow movement there. And that's an important distinction. Flexibility may not be determined entirely by the tissues themselves. It may also be influenced by how much control, confidence, and safety the nervous system perceives inside a position. Yoga exposed that constantly, not just through stretching, but through breathing, stillness, and awareness all at once. The longer I practiced, the more I noticed something else. I was carrying tension into positions before anything difficult had even happened, holding my breath, bracing unnecessarily, preparing for challenges that weren't actually there. And once I noticed that pattern, a deeper realization started to emerge. Maybe the issue wasn't simply that my muscles were too tight. Maybe my body no longer trusted those positions. And if that was true, then the real challenge wasn't forcing more movement. It was rebuilding confidence inside movement the body had stopped practicing long ago. If my body no longer trusted those positions, then the next question became obvious. What had it been adapting to instead? The answer wasn't that my body had stopped adapting. It had been adapting the entire time, to the movements I repeated most often, the positions I spent the most time in, and the demands I exposed it to day after day. Running, tennis, sitting, walking, driving, working, the body kept learning from all of it. And over time, those adaptations started shaping what felt normal. Some movements became familiar. Others slowly disappeared from daily life. The body never stopped learning. It simply became better and better at the patterns it practiced most. That realization changed the way I viewed yoga. Yoga wasn't exposing a broken body. It was exposing hidden instability, missing movement options, and positions my body had stopped practicing years ago. And suddenly, the experience felt much less frustrating because I wasn't looking at failure anymore. I was looking at adaptation. Same adaptation that made me better at running, that improved my tennis, that helped me move efficiently through everyday life. The body had done exactly what it was designed to do. It adapted to what I asked of it most often. Maybe that's the most important lesson hidden inside this entire experience. The body does not automatically master every movement. It learns what it repeats, what it avoids, and what it eventually comes to trust. Sometimes a new movement doesn't reveal weakness. It reveals what the body never had to learn before. And maybe the next time your body feels tight, unstable, or uncomfortable, it's worth asking a different question. Not, what's wrong with me, but what has my body been adapting to all this time? Because the body isn't always resisting change. Sometimes it's simply reflecting the life it has been practicing.